Hello, Tracy Ryan at QMS Certification. Today we're going to talk about ISO I 27001, Information Security Management System standard that has been recent years due to advances in technology. But what is ISO 27001 and what is it for? We are going to talk a bit now about the motivation for launching ISO 27001. ISO is an international organization that publishes standards for various subjects, as in the case of ISO 9001, which is a quality management system, ISO 37001, anti-bribery, and ISO 27001, which is a standard that talks about information security. The motivation of publication of ISO 27001 was due to the great advances in technology and the consequent increase in the concern of organizations with the security of information, and also consequently, with the passage of time, the concern of society itself with processing of their data. This has led to ISO to concern itself with this information and led to the publication of the initially in 2005, which was the first version of ISO 27001, is now in its second version, the 2013 version. Let's talk a little about the structure of the standard of 7 requirements, which are the requirements from 4 to 10. An interesting fact about ISO 27001 is that it is a standard in partnership with the Commission, which, together with ISO, has determined security issues in the case of more technical matters. So there is a particular partnership in question of the ISO standard, and that ISO 27001, as I said, the standard structured in 1 session and 7 requirements. And it also contains the annex there, which contains 114 controls, and they are also a bit more technical and information that the organization should evaluate and apply them as applicable to their business. And another interesting fact is that ISO 27001 is very much based on risk management. When you study a little bit more about the standard, you'll realize that it's requirement 8, that normally the operating requirement in other standards, it is basically the evaluation and treatment of risks related to information security, talking a little bit about certification for a company. To achieve ISO 27001 certification, it will have to follow a few steps. For example, implementation, which would be the definition of policies and procedures that meet all the requirements of the standard, is important to emphasize here in 27001. When we talk about policies, it has a little different from the other standards. We are talking not only about the policy that meets requirement 5.2, but also as a whole of policies whose characteristic is definition of rules to be followed, information security, that will meet the sets of controls in the annex after implementation. The organization can request an audit of up to analysis to verify the GEDs that still exist in the system, take further action to adjust the system. Yes, call it a certification audit. The certification audit is divided into phases 1 and 2. If you want, we'll leave the link of the video below explaining a little more about the difference between these ombudsmen. For you understand a little better now, we're going to talk a little about the applicability of the standard and which companies can certify to ISO 27001 is conceptually. ISO 27001 is applicable to any type of organization, be it a public organization, companies, small companies, large, medium, regardless of the number of employees, regardless of turnover. In short, it's a democratic that can be applied to any company organization. But because it is a standard with very specific subjects on the safety of information security, it requires a certain degree of maturity and infrastructure of the organization related to this subject of information technology. For this reason, it ends up being sought out and applied by many companies in the technology and software development segment has been growing with companies that are concerned about the data that is manipulated in the operation, such as document storage companies, call center notaries, and so on. In general, it is applicable to any type of organization, but depending on the degree of maturity in terms of infrastructure, it will a little more or less adequacy. But it can be certified by any type of organization, Talking a bit now about ISO 27001 in the world. ISO 27001 is one of the standards that has grown the most in the number of certifications, which is due to the increasing more and more to the increase in EA technology democratization and democratization of access to technology for many years to come. As this issue tends to become increasingly latent in society, the number of certifications should increase with the emergence of legislation for data privacy and the increased concern about this type of issue. Thank you very much. This is the subject I'd like to cover in this video. If you have any questions about ISO 27001 questions, please leave them in the comments. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Don't forget to subscribe to our social networks, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.